Imagine this. You're a kid again, and your parents took you to see the new Pokémon movie in cinemas. As the lights dim, the silence sets in, and then you hear this. Yeah, I never got to do this because they never showed the movies in my area, but when I was first starting to get into the Pokemon anime, we were about in the middle of Pokemon Battle Dimension, and I have fond memories of watching the 11th Pokemon movie, Giratina and the Sky Warrior, on TV when it aired, and then being filled with excitement in the lead up to Arceus and the Jewel of Life the year later. Ever since then, I've had a certain affinity towards the films, so when I tell others that I like a lot of them, I'm usually met with them calling me crazy. And like, yeah, Pokemon anime movies don't have a good rep, so that's completely fair. They aren't exactly pinnacles of filmmaking. I'd even say, barring a few standouts, from a critical standpoint, a lot of the Pokemon movies are straight up bad. And don't try to tell me that Spell of the Unknown is good, because it isn't. Despite that though, there's always something enjoyable about all of the Pokemon movies to me. A certain atmosphere from beginning to end that is only found within each of the Pokemon movies. And I feel like that just doesn't get talked about enough. The underrated parts of the Pokemon movies, the things that most people brush over and don't even recognize, but when I watch them, they absolutely make the experience for me. Unless it's Spell of the Unknown. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be highlighting today. The elements of various Pokemon movies that make this form of the anime special to me. The magic of the Pokemon movies. Now, allow me to start this topic off with the beginning parts of Pokemon movies. Whenever you jump into a Pokemon movie, it always starts off with the gang entering a new, anime-exclusive town, city, or location. In Mewtwo Strikes Back, for example, the area that most of the movie takes place in is New Island, which is probably an example that most people know of. It's this giant castle that was formerly the lab where Mewtwo was created. Completely unique to the anime, and it's such a cool location within it because of the backstory. However, when I think about Pokemon movie locations, there are plenty of others that instantly come to mind before that one because of many reasons. The first being LaRue City from Destiny Deoxys. Now, say what you will about that movie, but I actually really love it. LaRue City, in my opinion, was the most well fleshed out city when it comes to world building within the actual movie. From the beginning, we see Ash, Pikachu, May, Brock, and Max heading into the city on a high-speed bullet train. We see windmills, then it cuts out to a wide shot of the whole city, and it just looks like a high-tech utopia. They have these electrical-powered trash cans, which honestly seem like more of a hassle to be honest, and then we see robots that help the city operate by creating each character their own passports. As a kid, it was all so enamoring. It got me interested in how the city operates, and throughout the movie, we get to see more and more of it. Notably, we are shown how reliant the people are on this technology. So much so that when the power is shut off, the whole city is just lifeless. Another is Alamos Town from The Rise of Darkrai. It's much more rustic and not necessarily dated, but it definitely has an olden feel to it. I think the thing that stands out about this place to me is that it really feels more alive than some of the other places. Throughout the entire beginning parts, they show off the lively streets of the city, and then there's Godey's Garden, which is a peaceful place within the town specifically created for people and Pokemon to coexist. It's the character Alicia's favorite spot in the city, and I completely understand why. I loved every moment that took place in this area. At the center of the town are the Space-Time Towers, two connected buildings which have the ability to play music tracks, which ironically enough are what helped breathe life into this place for me. See, this movie has a song that plays at different parts throughout called Aracion. It symbolizes peace in a way because when certain Pokemon were fighting in the garden, this song played and they instantly became peaceful again. As the town was fading from existence piece by piece because of Dialga and Palkia's battle, right as the Space-Time Towers were about to fade, they managed to play Aracion using the tower, which was able to stop Dialga and Palkia's anger towards each other. That being said, when talking about locations in Pokemon movies, you can't forget Alto Mare from Pokemon Heroes. This place is clearly based on Venice, and I'd go as far as to say that this city is shown off much more than the places in other movies. To start off, we get to hear about the history of the city and its connection to the citizens in Pokemon, two of those being Latios and Latias, who saved the city in the past and are honored for that. It's just so beautiful, and getting to experience the culture of these one-off towns that we likely won't see again is amazing. However, this one is so unique and memorable that it actually got to cameo in to be a Pokemon Master. I just really appreciate this setting, especially in the intro during the water race, which is another thing that breathes life into the town, because it's a recurring contest that Ash and the gang get to take part in, and that actually ties into the next topic. The Slice of Life. In almost all Pokemon anime movies, they start with some slice of life things or even have them placed in the middle. These can range from events specific to the town, like the water race, or random smaller things throughout. Slice of life is one of those things in anime that I love, because while we don't get any character development generally, we do get to see our characters just enjoying themselves and having a good time. Like in the Diancie movie when Bonnie, Serena, and Diancie all go shopping. I actually think the Diancie movie is a bit underrated, and this is one of the more memorable parts of the movie for me. Seeing these three get to enjoy some shopping was really wholesome, especially because Diancie, never did that before because she's a Pokemon. And also the custom outfits we get in these few shots alone. I mean, customization is one of the key features of XY, and we honestly see that represented a few times in the series, so this is a welcome addition in the movie. The Pokemon catch race in The Power of Us is just so fun to watch, and it works really well because they spend the first little bit of the movie introducing us to a variety of characters who, while they don't all compete, a lot of them have some sort of appearance in this segment. It's a beautiful contest, and it honestly kind of ties back to the previous point about the towns, because this catch race is part of the Wind Festival in Fula City. With this one, you're on edge because they introduce a small, low-stakes conflict involving a rampaging Tyranitar. I don't know how to explain it other than saying I was on edge, but it was more like a happy thrill rather than a normal one, if you get what I'm saying. One very under-the-radar example is the beginning of Arceus and the Jewel of Life. It opens with a gang trudging through a field to find an amazing riverbank. Instantly, everyone brings out their Pokemon and has a nice swimming day in the river. This ties into the theme for the section. It's not really that impactful from a narrative perspective, but getting to see the random interactions like Ash, Dawn, and Brock splashing around, Happiny riding on Buizel, everyone enjoying watermelon, it's so wholesome. Also, the water in this scene looks so satisfying. The final one I'm going to talk about for this segment is the festival from Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. I mean, from the get-go, they just throw you in, showing everyone in their traditional outfits that they wear to the festival, and Max exclaiming how they don't have their own. So the whole crew goes and gets their own in a beautiful little segment, changing into their specific outfits, and then the main event, the tournament to decide who gets to be what the town dubs Aura Guardian of the Year. After the tournament, the festival continues into the night. We get to see what this event is like, what it brings to the town, and what it means to the people. Then one by one we see what every character is up to. Ash, as the winner, is supposed to sit and look dignified. Meanwhile, May is off dancing, and also Team Rocket by the way. Max is off eating, Brock is proposing to women, the usual stuff. Ash and May's Pokemon get to enjoy the party, everyone's involved, and it's so well done. Next up, let's talk about animation, or rather the resolution, because most of the Pokemon anime movies just adopt the animation art style from the series that is currently taking place, but it is much more high quality, and let me tell you, getting to see our heroes in full widescreen when the series was still at 4:3 until mid Diamond and Pearl was really awesome. However, this section is entirely just for me to talk about The Power of Us. This is really the first Pokemon movie to deviate in any meaningful way from the art style of the main series, and it works so beautifully. It gives off the vibes of a Studio Ghibli film by really emphasizing the facial expressions of the characters while employing a sort of matte finish on the surroundings that really differentiate it from the characters. On top of the Power of Us just being a really great movie, this helps to give the film its own unique identity when compared to other Pokemon movies. On the opposite spectrum of the wholesome vibes of the slice of life aspects, let's talk about certain interactions in movies that really develop the characters involved. One of these is Delia's speech to Ash at the end of Pokemon 2000. We don't really see how much Delia cares for Ash and worries about him before or after the scene. It's so heartfelt, and it brings out a few tears honestly just seeing how scared she was for Ash's safety in this movie, and it's nice to see Ash sort of understand, even if not completely. The next is Max and Jirachi's bond in Jirachi Wishmaker. Since Max is so much younger than the rest of the gang, he never really has someone he can just get along with and be a kid around. So this was a necessary relationship for Max to have, and it's very wholesome and very meaningful to him. It's so sad that it could only last for 1 week though. On that note, let's not forget May and Manaphy's bond in movie 9 as well. Manaphy imprinting on May thinking she's her mom is just so sweet. The goodbye at the end of the movie really got to me as well. I'll admit it, Pokemon Forever is not the greatest Pokemon movie, but one thing I really appreciated is Ash's relationship with Professor Oak's past self, Sam. Since Professor Oak obviously never leaves his lab much, we don't get much actual character development. In fact, I'd argue that this movie develops Oak more than the rest of the entire series. The two bonding over Celebi throughout the movie, as well as just getting to know each other, is nice, and it's awesome to know that Ash got to keep his promise of always staying friends, even if he doesn't actually know it. I only wish Professor Oak didn't have to keep his true identity identity a secret. The final thing I want to talk about is movie exclusive characters, such as Sam, like we just talked about, the lovely ensemble from The Rise of Darkrai, and Tori Lund from Destiny Deoxys. However, this video is getting pretty long, so I think I'll limit to just one movie exclusive character that I truly love. And that's Lucario from Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. Lucario is introduced into the movie in his original time, and we see him getting blindsided by his master, Sir Aaron, trapped in the staff for centuries with feelings of betrayal. Once Lucario awakens into the modern era, he's obviously very confused. Then throughout the movie, we get inklings of Lucario's life in the old era, showing the relationship he and Sir Aaron forged and the training Lucario received from him, yet Lucario believes he deserted everyone. Seeing Ash and Lucario's relationship develop in this movie is also nice, and the movie deliberately showing parallels between Ash and Sir Aaron as people is amazing, and that helps open up Lucario since he's pretty closed off to humans in this movie because of his perceived betrayal. Not only that, but Lucario gets some wholesome moments with other members of the gang, like Max. Then it hits the group. They've heard the legends about Sir Aaron being a hero, but then they see the vision from the past of Sir Aaron imprisoning Lucario. Now they're all against him, and they have to apologize for not believing Lucario. I love the character arc for everyone in this movie, and it all centers around Lucario. It all culminates in the ending, when everyone realizes Sir Aaron actually was a hero, and that he sacrificed himself in order to save the Tree of Beginning. History is now repeating itself, and Lucario and Ash decide to work together to save the tree. But at the last moment, Lucario pushes Ash away, sacrificing himself in the process. It's an absolutely beautiful but tragic story, and I love it so much. So I hope I was able to share with you the underrated parts of Pokemon movies, because they all have their magical moments regardless of the overall rating of the movie. While they may not all be great, they all hold a special place in my heart. Except for Spell of the Unknown.